Welcome to Senior Life Online, everybody. Today's featured speaker is Carolyn Fitz. We'll be doing a live art demonstration to inspire you. You can visit our website at scottsvalleyseniorlife.org. You can sign up for our newsletter, and you can suggest future projects and find us on Facebook. And tax-deductible donations are always welcome. The donations directly benefit senior citizens around Scotts Valley. Scotts Valley Senior Life is run by an all-volunteer group of seniors, and nearly 100% of donations received are used to directly help seniors living in the area. You can designate Scotts Valley Senior Life Association as your favorite charity when you shop through Amazon. And with that, we'll let Carolyn go ahead and start.
Okay, I want to welcome all of you, and I hope there's not too much squealing and cricket sounds. We couldn't quite get that completely gone, but you know, I live in the forest, so what the heck, full of crickets, it's for sure. I want to welcome all of you and thank you for coming on today. And I see my niece clear from Oregon.
Carolyn, let me interrupt just for a moment. I'm going to mute everybody and then I'm going to open you back up again.
Okay. There we go.
Yep, you're back. Okay, good.
Well, I have an interesting setup, and somewhere I have a picture of it here. Anyway, I'm using two computers to do my demo today. One is on a table with a piece of glass over it, and the iPad is facing down to do the demo. And then the other one, I can see what I'm doing by looking here. Uh-oh, I'm upside down here. 1 second. Okay, now we're right side up again. Sorry about that. Okay. Usually these demos are done with a document camera, and I thought, oh, I can figure this out and do it with what I have on hand. Anyway, getting back to, I know we all have passions in life and many, many interests that we follow, and I just want to share with you a passion that I have of when I travel sketch. I have the most wonderful pen I discovered quite a few years ago, and it's just, I just hope everyone can have access to it and possibly try it out. And 1 second here. Okay, so the name of the pen, and some of you that are here today, I see have this already. Dave, can you make my screen larger?
Let's see.
Switch to active. There we go. Here we are. So this is a Pilot Parallel pen, and it's got a wide edge to it. It's designed, you can see the wide edge chisel point rather than just a point. And it's designed to be a calligraphy pen. And I took a workshop back in 2005 with my wonderful calligraphy group called Sea Scribes down in Monterey. And the instructor had this wonderful pen. And the beautiful thing about it, it has such beautiful, sharp clarifications, and you can rock up on the edge and get little nuances like that. So when I first took the workshop, I thought, my gosh, this is the calligraphy pen I've been waiting for. And shortly after, I took a trip to Europe, took my 17-year-old granddaughter on a trip to England, Scotland, Wales, and Ireland. And I threw several art sketching things in a bag, and I put this pen in it to think, well, I'll practice calligraphy on the way sometimes. But somewhere in Scotland, I got it out of my bag and started sketching with it. And to this day, I almost get chills every time I think of how wonderful that discovery was, because it's been my go-to sketch pen ever since. So I will demonstrate that today and show you several examples of sketches I've done here and there, and hopefully inspire you to buy your own. And if you want to take a note down of where to buy this, these pens come in different widths. And I like the green cap one because it has a nice 3.8 millimeter. And here's a 6.0 millimeter. You can see the difference. It's quite a bit wider, and it gives oops, a little dry there, but it gives wider strokes. But the green one is the one I really recommend. It's a kind of a mid-range size that does some wonderful variations of line that are fun to sketch with. So if you're able to shop local wherever you live, that's great. If you're not into shopping these days, jetpens.com is a great site, and they have really good prices. And you'll not only want to get a pack. This is what they look like, brand new in a pack. So you'll want to pick up that, and sometimes they sell them in sets. And you'll also want to pick up some cartridges. This I bought at Lynn's Arts, and they're $2 for a set of 6 cartridges. And see, there's six of those in there, and they last quite a long time. And the beautiful thing is they're water-soluble ink, which I will show you what happens when you hit a water brush with it. Or many of you that are online today on Zoom have used this pen, I know, and have fallen in love with it. So bear with me if this is redundant to those who know what these do already. So these are the 2 items. And then it's great to get a water brush. This is, you just open it up and it fills with tap water. And just fill it up under the sink with tap water. And you've got a wet brush ready to go when you travel. And I try to just keep all this in a Ziploc bag and keep with me at all times. It's my go-to love affair of art. So, did anyone need that further? We're all okay on that. Can you hear me okay? Am I talking loud
Yeah, we can
enough?
hear you. We can hear you fine, Carolyn.
Okay, great. Thank you, David. So I will do, well, actually, I have several copies that I made of sketches that I've done already. So I'm going to talk about those, and I will also demonstrate to you getting my pen here, my paper, the different ways that your pen will work. So when you first get it, you open it up, and it's got a cartridge that you put in, you insert, make sure you push it in far enough to where it engages. And then to get it started, you can put it upside down and just squeeze a little bit here, and it gets it dripping. Or you can take your pen and just go like that quite a few times, but be careful not to touch the paper or table, because if you bend these two parallel metal pieces of the nib, it'll be destroyed. Otherwise, it'll last you a lifetime. And if you ever find that it gets clogged up, they give you a set. They give you a little piece of film, and I'll show that to you because it's pretty important to know that. 1 second. So this film comes with this set. It's just like film from a camera. And if your pen ever gets clogged and gets scratchy, just take it and put it in between, like you're threading a needle, and you're just put it in between the two metal nibs, and you can clean it out that way. It just scoops out any goop or garbage you have going on, and then you'll be clear to go. And be sure always to cap it when you're not using it, so it won't dry up on you. So you saw how it did calligraphy, and the beautiful thing is, instead of sketching just with a tool that has a monoline, I'll just do a scribble here. That's with a Sharpie pen. This pen with its white edge nib gives you such a wonderful range of interesting strokes. So here you can hold it and just rock and roll, twist it and turn it, and you have this wonderful range of interesting strokes. Much more interesting than a monoline. So you can have fun just repeating that and doing a whole line, and then I'll show you how to use the water brush on that, bring out the values of it. And if you rock up on the corner edge, you get a thin line, and you can get a full line, and all in between. And if you hold it upright and pull it, you get a wonderful, well, like a horse's mane or a waterfall. In fact, I'll do that waterfall. You can make rocks in no time. This is when I was in Scotland, and I opened this pen up on the bus and I started sketching with it. I was looking at all these beautiful rock walls they have stacked up along the highway. You've seen those, and my goodness, they make a rock wall in no time. You can put some grass in there by holding the nib straight up and down, and get another way to get a thin line. You can make some water lines. And instead of holding it like a pencil, I like to hold it with 2 fingers and a thumb and 2 fingers behind, as if you were holding a Chinese brush. Chinese brush you would hold in that manner as well, like this, straight up and down. So let's just do a little quick. So here's your waterfall. And just the beautiful thing about this pen is you work fast and you can just let your pen dance around and make trees up on top of you can make ledges of rock. You can make down below, there's going to be water down below. And there's going to be boulders down below a waterfall generally. And grass. And maybe there's a tree over here that's been hit by lightning. What do they call that? A snag? And you can put some wonderful texture in that tree. Okay, back off. It's a quick process. And with a water brush, and a napkin nearby. Here's what happens when you hit the water onto the stroke. There's this wonderful pulling out of its values. Which I think is a lot of fun. The particular ink that I have in this Pilot Parallel pen is called Blue Black. And you can even borrow some of the ink. Here's some of the ink right here. I'm borrowing it. It's getting on my brush and it's making nice little marks by themselves. So, and then for the waterfall, coming down and hit and miss up on the ledge. And we're going to borrow a little bit of that blue that's in my water brush, and we're going to make a soft sky out of it. Borrow a little more blue. Squeeze a little water out. And in no time, you're transported up to Yosemite with your quick sketch. I was fortunate to be able to go up for 16 years as an artist in residence at Yosemite, 1 week each year, and teach Sumie Japanese ink painting. And so it was quite fun to go up there and teach sketching and art up there at Yosemite. So you get a little more softness there. Sometimes go back and push your towel on it to lighten it up. And that's it. Oh, cool. So I'm going to show a few pictures every now and then in between the demos. This is a picture that I sketched in China. Let's see if I can get my camera there. So this is called 9 Horse Mountain, and it's a scene along the Li River, Li River, that goes down from Guilin into Yangshou. And we were on a big boat going down the river, and the woman on the barge, the tour guide, passed around, pardon me, passed around a laminated copy of what she said was the 9 Horse Mountain. And it's the karst. All these are beautiful mountains that are just dripping with stain. They call it karst stone. And no one could see any horses in the laminated photo she passed around. So when I got to my hotel, I sat and remembered it was just a mountain and dripping with beautiful stains, which I got from having a couple of different pilot parallel pens. And one was filled with sepia ink, one was filled with blue black, and one was filled with black. So I just sketched intermittently with all 3 of them. And then when I took my water brush, I pulled down the ink and they combined and made this beautiful stain of the mountain. So as I was sketching it, I put 9 horses in there to represent my version of the 9 Horse Mountain. You can actually Google that and read about the 9 Horse Mountain. And I suppose you probably can see them. I'll point them out. Here's one, and here's one, and here's one, and here's one, and there's one, there's one, there's one, and there's a horse jumping right here. Anyway, it was really quite fun, and it's just fun to let your imagination go. And the little backstory behind this is about an hour before we arrived in the little town of Yangshou, a lady came up to me. I was sketching while I was on the boat, different things, and she said, in broken English, in Chinese, she spoke actually very well. She said, "What pen do you use?" So I wanted to show her and the pilot parallel pen, so she could probably Google that and get it for herself, because she seemed very interested. So as I was showing her, I took my camera strap off my wrist, and I was somehow, it fell off overboard into the river. My camera that had 3 weeks of China on it had 2 weeks of a Japanese tour, and I see it go blub, 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 blub down the river. And I was pretty shocked, but the most beautiful message came to me. Sorry about that. Most beautiful message came to me. I rose back up after I watched it blub, blub go underwater. And I said to myself, this is my lesson to let go. And so I just had to work hard on it, but I had to let it go. And what could you do? nothing you could do about it. The nice thing is several people on the tour found out what happened, and they were so generous. They sent me copies of their photographs of China. So in return, I sent them a copy of this 9-horse mountain that I drew. Here's a picture of when I went to see my brother in Joshua Tree. You can see that that's a. So you can see how quick and easy you can sketch with that Pilot Parallel pen. Excuse me, I'm gonna drip of water. And then you take your water brush and just pull out the values. And very fun. It's very quick and easy to do that. I wanted to say that a lot of people seem to be discouraged by other people commenting or critiquing when they do artwork. And to those, I just say, flick that critic off your shoulder and do it for the joy of for yourself. Just do it for your own personal pleasure and joy. Here's a quick painting of, I love to what's called juxtapose and just put people in all sorts of upside down, turn your paper, sketch here, sketch there. You can add watercolor afterwards. And this was a group of sketchers. One of some of the fun places to go sketch is just local. This was a sketch group that I used to organize. We would meet at different places once a month and then go out to lunch afterwards. It was quite fun, but COVID put an end to all that. But this was at the Scotts Valley Goodwill, February 20th, 2020. And as you know, the month after, everyone was ordered to stay home. But the nice thing about a place like Goodwill, you can just walk along and you never know what you'll find to do a sketch from. Quite fun when you juxtapose. This was a sketch with a Pilot Parallel pen. I was sitting on a crowded bus at Yosemite, and you can see the people hanging on to the pole above, and you can see all the various people. And I juxtaposed them all around, did a quick sketch, and anyway, it was quite fun to do. Quite fun to do. And then add your water later to kind of pull it together. So I really love to encourage when you sketch, it doesn't have to look like what you're seeing. Put your own creative expression into it and your own whimsy, or just be loose and wonky. And the main thing is to have fun. This was a few years back over in Felton. There was a band. What do they call that? Throat band? Anyway, they were the deep throat band. So I just did a juxtaposition of various all over. This was a trip up in Oregon, in Sisters, Oregon, the Kalamazoo antique store. Just walked around and sketched the variety of things in there. It's a perfect spot to sketch. antique store. And then added a little bit of watercolor later. You never know what you'll find. Very interesting subject matter. This was another trip to Goodwill. Odds and ends. Great place to sketch. These were actually little caps that they were selling, little hats. So there's just a wide array of where you can go and get inspired to sketch. And this was a garden in Scotts Valley. Again, mix and match, toss it up in the air. But the beautiful thing about the Pilot Parallel pen, these strokes happen just by themselves. And you can get such a variation of interesting strokes going on with that particular calligraphy pen. Very fun. Okay, this is up at the UC Arboretum, and it was done with a twig. I had it here, I was going to show you, but it was a twig I found off the ground, and I dipped it into ink and did a loose sketch of the eucalyptus tree. In fact, I made sure that the twig that I was painting with, that I dipped into the paint, was a eucalyptus twig. And if you find a twig and it's just too perfect, take it and break it, and you want an edge that's ragged and gives you unusual marks. This was out at Manzanar. My brother and I took a trip out there and spent some time driving around. Just now, this is done with it's called a Pentel brush, and this is a cartridge that has ink in it, or you can use it as a dip pen when it runs dry. And when you uncap it, it's this wonderful pointed nylon brush with ink already in it, and it's really quite fun to. And this was, we went to a person's house who had a collection of brooms, and I thought, oh, that would be fun to sketch. That was what that was. This is sitting inside of Firefish on the Santa Cruz Wharf with a sketchbook open and sketching out the window along West Cliff Drive. Quite fun. And these sketches can be quite fast. And this was also done with this pen. As you can see, I put that in the picture. An orange Pentel brush pen. They're a wonderful tool to play with. And that was at the pumpkin farm at the Capitola Produce. Quite fun. They had the fence decorated with corn stalks. And picture of persimmons, just a touch of color. Very loose and quick, probably maybe a 10-minute sketch. That's how quick. Oftentimes, putting the water or watercolor takes more time. This was some sculptures that were out at the, if you ever go out to by the Watsonville Fairgrounds, the Sierra Azul has a wonderful garden full of sculptures. And this was a quick sketch of that. That was quite fun. And the beautiful thing is when you're sketching, you can just lose yourself. You don't know what time it is. You just, it's such a wonderful way to lose the feeling of time. And also, for those people who love abstraction, this was a tank full of lobsters that had their claws taped, rubber band together. There's a crowded tank full of lobsters. And this was at the Moss Landing Fish Market. But this is quite a jumble of color and ink stroke, but a beautiful way to look at it is take a piece of mat board and just isolate an area. For those of you who love abstraction, and sometimes your painting in its total just doesn't work, but there's some part of your sketch that you will find very, very fascinating. And maybe you cut it out and maybe you'd want to do something with that. Make a card out of it. And just isolate interesting areas like that. So that's kind of fun to know that if you don't like your whole sketch, try taking a little mat and going around and seeing if there's some little area that you do like. This was at that pumpkin patch again, done very quickly, very loosely. And some pumpkins have warts on them, and that was quite fun. Now, for those of you, and there's a few of my friends here on Zoom that are into the haiku group, and you can take your painting and create a haiku for it, and it becomes a haiga, what they call a haiga. Late autumn light warms my sketch pad differently. So I used an iPad app called Phonto, Phonto, to do the lettering. They have all different colors and fonts, and it's a wonderful way to take a picture of your painting and then go to the app and you can print on it like that. So from there to there. This has a fun story behind it. One second. I was at Nob Hill a couple years ago getting a crab, fresh crab from their fish department. And I pointed out the one I wanted, and he took it out and he was walking back to his sink to crack and clean it. And all of a sudden I hollered, "Oh, stop, don't clean it. I want to paint it first." And he looked around, and I'll never forget the look that he gave me when I told him I wanted to paint it first. So it was quite fun. And so I took it home and laid it out and did a sketch and an ink painting of it. And there again, this wonderful brush can do bamboo beautifully. This is a little haiku that came years ago with a moon. When it's by itself, it's called an ENSO, E-N-S-O, kind of a Zen circle. And I want to actually take this moment to demo with this brush here. So if you lay it on its side, you can get a nice little, and this is called flying white. When the brush skips over the paper, it's a nice thing. And there's a joint. The joint. And then there's the side stems. And it's very important, many of you grow bamboo and you know this, that the stems grow alternately. So this side and then that side, and then this side, that side. And likewise, and they grow right above the joint. And likewise, you can turn this around. They hop over to the other side. And grow on this side. So it's alternating one side to another. And it's kind of like, I like to think of it as if they're giving each other plenty of room. And then comes the little tiny joints in between the stems. And that's called dragon eyes. It's basically two little dots. And then the bigger joints are like something like that. Okay. So after you've developed the network of stems there, then you want to put the leaf. On and on. The bamboo grows on and on. So bamboo's quite a lovely and revered subject matter in sumie, sumie being the word Japanese ink painting. So quite fun, and that's with this beautiful Pentel brush. Pentel brush. And they come in all sorts of colors. There's a beautiful several years ago when I was in China, our group stayed across the street from a hotel in Beijing called the Purple Bamboo Park. And it wasn't that the bamboo was purple. I'm not sure really why it was named that. But anyway, they come in luscious colors. And these are called Pentel brushes. You can get them locally. And they're wonderful to have on hand. They're also good. This was a piece of wood. I go to a cabinet shop and he lets me pick through his pile that he's got destined to go into the dumpsters. And they're absolutely beautiful pieces of wood. And they're wonderful to do paintings on, ink paintings, calligraphy. And this was just a fun little thing. I was having fun doing kanji calligraphy, and can do that. That's the calligraphy for eternity. Eternity. So doing calligraphy is really quite a beautiful way to learn how to put pressure and release on the brush, thick and thin. And we have such a wonderful array of YouTube tutorials that you can do a lot online if you want to study that. This was a quick Sumie picture of a frog done really quickly, jumping out of the pond. Now, if you take black paper and take a brush, this is a wonderful brush from Oriental Art Supply. It's a wonderful family-owned company down in Los Angeles, Huntington Beach. And I don't know if you can read the label there. It's called, anyway, it's called Huntington Beach Oriental Art Supply. Anyway, this is black paper and this brush dipped in white. And just a little whimsical thing. One day I was playing around. Poor little fish. I don't know if he climbed the ladder, wants back in, or if he's pretty happy out there. Not real sure. And just play around with your imagination. White ink on black paper. Quite fun. This is a photograph. There's a glare of the glass. This was a workshop that I took with the Oriental Art Supply in Huntington Beach. And he was teaching how to paint horses. I guess his family is known for that. So, this, and I hope I don't offend anyone, but I was going to say another fun place to sketch is going to your public library. They're starting to open up again now. And when I had my sketch group that we went once a month, we would meet there like in the wintertime when we knew it was going to be cold. So we could go in there and sketch at the library. And if you wanted to sketch people, they wouldn't be all the wiser that you were sketching them. So it's kind of fun. But one day I just kind of couldn't figure out what I was going to sketch. So I went in there, Scotts Valley Library, and I just sketched some books, and I made up the titles. And I tell you, I can't tell you how much fun it was. It was very therapeutic. This was the politics during 2018, March 7th. So it's kind of a spoof on what was happening at the time. So I kind of sketched like a bookshelf of books. The first one, this is a spoof, mind you, of the politics at the time. How to Ship Your Elephant Parts Home by Trump Jr. Sarah Huckabee's Tips on Glamour, Lies, and Deceit. Job openings at the White House, temporary only. They were coming and going so fast. And again, this was very therapeutic. I had a lot of fun doing this. Melania's Goals and Accomplishment, kind of a little thin book there. Blizzards, floods, record heat waves, earthquakes, Bible predictions, law book for non-disclosure agreements, best to sign by Stormy. And at the very end, I concluded it with breathe often and deeply. This too shall pass by Deepak Chopra. Very fun. And the following year, 2000, in February, I did the same thing. It was a real problem time with immigrants. And aren't we all immigrants? Those dangerous immigrants, all of us folks, watch out. Melania's Projects, again, quite a thin book. Climate change, hooks or haw. And separated those little children, the illegal immigrant children families. They were being separated and records not being kept of who they would go back to eventually. Such tragedy. Trump Wall, Designs and Demands, or else. Stay tuned for further closures. Fact check. Getting Fatter book, 2019 edition. Year of the Pig, 4. Reasons not to have gun control. Rest in peace. And protect your rights and bear arms. This is not what I believe, but this is where the politics were to purchase the guns you want by the NRA. The loopholes available. Anyway, very fun to do a sketch of books and make up your own titles of the current events that are happening in the day. This was a quick sketch. Iris, you saw in the photo. This was quick sketch of, it was a rainy day, so a few people met in a woman's home that had a beautiful collection of candle holders. And again, this was done with this particular brush as well. It's a real fun tool to use for. I want to also say, if you do end up getting that Pilot Parallel pen and enjoying, get yourself a pack of these. General white charcoal pen. I got these actually just the other day at Business with Pleasure. There's a yeah. So this is good when you want to pop in a highlight of some of. Now I'm going to finish up doing a real quick demo of watercolor, and this is where sometimes if you do the watercolor first, and then the Pilot parallel pen over it, you keep your fresh colors. And then I'll do a quick one where I sketch first with a Pilot parallel pen, and then I'll put some watercolors in it, and you can see it gets quite kind of muddy. And then that will wrap that up, and we'll have any questions that you might have. So again, I just think it's so much fun to be loose and expressive. Okay, now, so the watercolor was dry and was done real loosely beforehand. But now I'm going to do a real quick version. And I'm going to blot it just to pick up any extra. Now with this watercolor set, this is a real antique watercolor set. Probably 40, 50 years old, I don't know. Here's the water brush. So if you do sketch first and you want to come back later and put a little water in it, it gives a whole different effect. You're going to be pulling in some of the values, which I kind of like, but a lot of people like having the pure watercolor left alone.
Are you cleaning your brush in between?
No, actually, well, every once in a while, thanks for asking that, George. I do swipe it on this towel to kind of clean it.
Okay.
Every now and then, yeah. That's actually a good idea, because sometimes you pick up too much of the ink and it gets your brush really yeah, let's get a little blue in there. It's kind of fun to mix and match, and you know, whatever, but some people are determined to not have the ink mix, and some people love the expressiveness and what happens when the ink combines with the water-soluble ink in the Pilot Parallel pen brush. And it's even fun, if you don't want it pure, to come back and just hit the edges. And so the main thing is to have fun and to let yourself go and experiment for discoveries. And I think we all want more fun in life, right? This is a lot of fun to be loose and expressive and do it for your own pleasure. Don't worry about critics at all. So I think I've covered quite a bit today, and I don't want to keep you any longer. It's, gosh, a whole hour has gone by. I'd love to answer any questions if you have them. So feel free to.
If you want to ask a question, be sure to unmute yourself. So we'll enjoy hearing you.
And David, I'll let you pick the people because I don't see the screen very well here.
Yeah, each individual can mute themselves. Carolyn, I was going to ask you about the pens. I have a son-in-law who loves to sketch, and it looks like he'd have a lot of fun with those pens.
Oh, absolutely. And what a beautiful gift to give him. And actually, Dave, you can go right up the road, and Business with Pleasure has some of these for $10. And get him a set of the cartridges as well. Yeah, he would love them, I'm sure. They make wonderful gifts.
Okay.
Any other questions? I'd be happy to answer.
I have a couple of comments and a question also. You make it look so easy.
I see your Trish.
Obviously, you've taken some time to cultivate your techniques and everything, but it's nice to see them, to see how you do it on paper. I have just another question. I assume you know how to write several kanji in Japanese, and I know some Japanese myself. It looked to me like the character you wrote, the kanji you wrote, was very similar to one for water.
You're so right. Let's see if I can find that.
And I'm just wondering if that's because water is eternal, and maybe that's another translation for that character that I don't know about, or is there a distinction between the two? It didn't look exactly the same, but it looked almost the same to me.
Okay, I'll show you exactly. That's really astute of you to notice that. Okay, so this is.
We can't see that paper because the other paper is the one with the flowers is, yeah, if you move it over more.
I'm trying to find that. Okay, I'll just use this. Okay, so here, this is we did the eternity. And you're so right. It's very similar. Water just comes down, and it doesn't have this top notch or these little.
Okay.
So it is very similar.
Okay.
And
cool.
Yeah, here's this mountain. It's just a lot of fun to study.
Yes, I see the difference now between between the two characters. The little top on it, they're very similar. So perhaps when I've been looking at, you know, Japanese kanji, I'm thinking it says water, but it really says eternity.
Well, if it has the little dot on top,
Yes, yes, I see the difference now.
but I would consider this Chinese calligraphy. And this is what they call a radical, which is like a main shape.
Yes,
And then when
yes.
you add on to it, you can make it into a lot of different words. So this is the main
Right. Yes,
radical.
I know how it all comes together, but I used to know, I don't know, 300 or 400. It's called kanji in Japanese. They all come from the Chinese though. But
Well,
the kanji comes from the Chinese characters. So
Katakana and well, kanji
katakana.
is the Chinese form of the
Yes.
combination. Well, anyway, it's complex, and we won't go into that. So thank you for that comment. And any other questions?
I have one, Carolyn.
Yes,
This
Jack.
is Jack. Yeah, this is fascinating. Speaking as somebody who hasn't tried to do art in decades, this is great to see you actually producing this so easily. And I find myself looking at a lot of what you're doing and seeing that they look three-dimensional. And I'm wondering, how do you do that? Are there some? Is it just seeing something and knowing where to draw the lines and the curves, or are you doing something special that makes it look, you know, three-dimensional?
No, nothing special, Jack. I like to not think about things too much when I do sketching, and work with abandon is my motto, and be loose and whimsy. But I think why you're feeling that way is because of the water-soluble ink having the ability to bring out the values. So when you have a monoline, not a monoline, but a sketch like that, and then you have when you bring out the values with water, it does give it a shadowing effect. So maybe would that be it? And I just want to encourage all of you. You can do this if you get a pilot parallel pen and maybe some watercolor paper, because and a water brush, this water brush, and you can get all those supplies right in Scotts Valley at the Distance with Pleasure. They carry that, and you'll be amazed how fun it can be. And here's an interesting fact. This I did a long time ago. This is the real sketch. And if you add water to it, 10 years later, you'll still bring out the value. The ink will still come alive.
Mm-hmm.
As if you just had done it. So it's really quite fun. Also, I wanted to mention that I do teach travel sketching class with this particular pilot parallel pen at Cabrillo Extension. And in fact, March 5th, I believe it is a Saturday, there's a 10 to 4 class coming up if you're interested of having fun with that some more. And it's really quite a fun class, and the 6 hours goes before you know it. And you leave there feeling like you can conquer the sketch world with your loose, whimsical, your own creative expression of style. It's really quite fun. So I encourage everyone, even if they don't think they can sketch, you really, really can. You'll have a lot of fun. Any other questions?
I just wanted to mention that if people aren't looking at the chat section, you might jump over there and see. I will make a copy of it for you, Carolyn, because everybody was very grateful, very impressed, and complimentary. So you might want to take a look at that. And then also, Dave listed our link to our, let's see, to scottsvalleyseniorlife.org. So if anybody wants to click on that, that's where we'll be posting a recording of this presentation. So,
Well, that's
yeah.
also, there's some really good presentations coming up. What is it, Dave and George? Is it twice a month you have wonderful talks?
Twice a month, yes.
Twice a month.
First
And-
and third Monday at 4 o'clock.
Great. Oh, the first and third. Okay. And what I'm looking forward to is in March, we're going to have a lady talk about how to declutter your house, which I need to hear about that. I don't know about that. But
Clutterbug.
Well, it was very enjoyable, and I should have my granddaughters. They love art to watch it, to see how clever they can be with just pen and ink.
yeah, let me tell you, if your children use the Pilot parallel pen, just tell them not to put a lot of pressure on it, and don't hit the end where it would bend, because that would destroy it. But other than that, it's very durable and long lasting, and just so much fun and so expressive. So expressive.
I'll have them watch the video. They'll learn a lot.
Great.
So
Any
thank
other
you for that.
questions?
Well,
Oh, I
I
wanted
did have a question, actually.
Sure.
I just had a quick question. I was thinking that your powers of observation are amazing, and the detail that you get, I was wondering which came first. Did you have those powers of observation, or did they kind of develop as you started doing ink drawing?
good question, George. I think that not thinking about it too hard, and just working with abandon, and just letting yourself play and be expressive, and let your hand just dance out there. I don't know if that answers it, but when I grew up, I loved to sketch horses. I was just crazy about horses, so I was always sketching horses when I grew up. But
I was in your club.
that's great. Oh, that's great.
That's all I ever drew was horses.
Well, hopefully you got one.
I did get one. I got several, actually.
Good, yeah.
It took a lot of begging from my parents, and me only drawing horses for many years before they finally realized maybe I was serious about it. But
Well,
I hope you got one too.
Well, actually, I did. I started off with a donkey. We lived up high up on a hill in Los Angeles, and we had some elderly neighbors that, when they died, they willed me their piano, which I had no interest in. I was about 10 years old. And the moving van person said, well, I know of a donkey. I'll trade you the donkey for the piano. And oh my gosh, I was thrilled. So I started off with a donkey, and then later I got a horse, and now I go on
It's
my
a
own.
completely different tune.
So true. So true. So any other
All
questions?
right.
Well, it was lots of fun, and I believe, and maybe we'll meet sometime
Yes.
in person.
I want to wish everyone a happy year of the tiger. I just finished this tiger. He sauntered in from my forest garden last week, and I worked a couple of days on him, and finally completed him. And I wanted to wish you all the best of the tiger, year of the tiger.
Wonderful, Carolyn. Thank you.
Thank
This
you,
has been a
Dave.
great presentation. George,
Yeah.
you want to wrap up?
Yeah. Thank you very much, Carolyn. That was really fabulous. That was a real treat.
Thanks.
So tune in next time, February 21st, Monday, the 21st, 2 weeks from today. we'll be featuring Stephanie Aguilar, past mayor and city council person, and she will talk about the history of the Glenwood open space. And I hope you'll all attend. I think I was very involved with that too, and I'm looking forward to having a discussion and inviting a lot of people who were involved. So it should be a lively discussion and very informative. So
it's a
we'll
great
look
space.
forward to seeing you all in the future. Yeah, it is. It is. It really is. It's a paradise up there. So, all right. Well, thanks for coming, everybody.
Okay. Good night, everyone. Thank you for being here. And again, Carolyn, many thank yous to you. Kudos. Wonderful presentation.
Thank you, Dave. I enjoyed it. Thank you for the opportunity. And George, thank you for working out the kinks with me. And we'll see you all at another Zoom. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.